It's important in the midst of this colossal collection of museum artifacts that we don't miss the architecture in here. I entered up where the arrow is in number 1, and number 3 is the courtyard, or the hallway. I just looked down, and we'll walk down that now. I don't know what the average human being is supposed to take away from this hallway, but at the very least it would seem that we should take away the fact that this is a very small percentage of a phenomenal amount of sculpture work that was done during the 500 to 1,000 years of Roman power, if you will. Also, what to be recognized is that it was from this colossal effort on the part of the Romans and some small portion of it that could be seen by Brunelleschi, Michelangelo, Donatello, that inspired, if you will, the Renaissance. For some reason, and maybe only in my mind, we seem to glorify the Renaissance, forgetting that it was a reconstruct initially of what had gone on for anywhere from 500 to 800 years intensively by the Romans and the Greeks before them for several hundred more years. But in a world that seems dominated by the blare of MTV and TV in general, and car horns and other kinds of noises, imagine a society that seems inundated in its public and its private places with this kind of what we would call today art. I don't know what they called it in their day because it was so ubiquitous, so common. And yet to realize that in their way they were trying to emulate the Greeks. This is such an impressive piece that I just have to stop long enough to video it. Guess where the French stole their idea? Well, our videos and movies and digital photography and perhaps three-dimensional creations, as well as virtual reality technologies, be able to equal and be as iconic a declaration of our art as this was of theirs? This is a hallway of epigraphs, which are, if you can see them here, from either Greece or Rome. The little plaques, if you will, wall plaques that contain various information. Down there are 2 large chunks of wood found at the bottom of Lake Nemi, which were from Caligula's boats, which the Nazis burned once they were pulled out and restored. Most of these things have some kind of explanation nearby, but I'm just going to take videos of the ones that intrigue me. This impressive hallway was created in the 1800s to house the statues that are in the niches. They used marble that they quote-unquote harvested from early Roman structures in and around Rome, including what we see on the floor, probably this mosaic. And the stone was apparently considerably worked in order to create this. I guess the one benefit of all of that is you can say that at least some of it has been restored to protection and the use and enjoyment of quote-unquote we the public. Again, you could spend a long time in your life studying each of these, not only to know who they are, but to know why each statue is important if it is. As a side note, apparently many American women organizations have financed either the restoration of some of these statues or specifically the descriptions of them. This is a Roman version of a Greek statue called Fortune. Such a setting doesn't get much more classical. Well, I assume that the friezes are in fact originals, either Roman or more likely Roman than Greek. Imagine that instead of carpets, you would have had mosaics like this in your living room, or perhaps running the length of a hallway. And this is Apollo playing the lute. Maybe he just got through playing, but it looks like he's begging for money. Notice the resemblance to Elvis? It's a Roman copy of a Greek statue entitled Youth. Notice the two different colored marbles. I think this one also idealizes the Greek idealized human face and body, none of the Renaissance. This reminds me more of the figure that we presume as the icon of medicine. This is a portrait of a male. You can imagine that a man might give this to his family rather than a brand new BMW that'll just wear out. This they can keep in the family courtyard for centuries. Again, a Roman copy of a Greek statue. You wonder, in order for the Romans to have made it, a copy of it, did they go to Greece or did they steal them from Greece? This seems to be a particularly important and interesting statue in that you get a real sense of the Greeks' understanding of the human body, even if it was idealized. Notice how these two sculptures differ in appearance from even the gorgeous Donatello David. This is the head of a Dacian. The Dacian is where a people who lived in Romania, and I believe it was Trajan, of Trajan's column, that conquered these people, calling them barbarians, as had Julius Caesar of the people he conquered, when in fact the primary reason for conquering them was not that they were barbarians, but that they had money, and that the emperors needed that money to underwrite their lifestyle and the lifestyle they were giving to the people of Rome. This is of the Emperor Domitian, but I think it's probably very idealized. The face may be accurate, but the rest of the body, including the clothing, were designed to present this human as a god. This is Hermes, but again, it reminds me with those entwined snakes of the symbol of medicine, and maybe they are connected. This is Hercules, a first century statue that, according to the written information, combines a head of one style or one master sculptor and the body design of another master sculptor. But look at the slab of muscles above the hips. If that's the way I looked when I was 22, it's no wonder I look the way I do now at 68. Here's another sculpture of a Dacian. And if the written interpretation describes the elements of clothing that identify him, the interpretation suggests an expression of extreme pathos. This is a sarcophagus lid that apparently the person who was dedicating it to the deceased wanted to relate the deceased to Venus, as indicated by the symbols of the apple and the two cherubs, or whatever those guys are called.